Well, here we are once again, folks. How's everybody doing? This is another of the many donations sent to me by Eddie. It's a Bachmann Class 4, and I'm going to be selling this on eBay along with the Flying Scotsman and the Class 43. Now, I worked on a black one of these quite recently that had very wobbly wheels due to the plastic wheel inserts being all distorted. So let's see how this one goes. Turn on the power. Well, that actually runs not too bad at all, but I bet this needs a really good service. So we'll get to the bench and give it a good going over. Righty-ho then, we'll get a look at this. So yeah, I did look at one of these quite recently. It was a black one, and had a problem with the wheels. The plastic inserts were all badly warped and distorted, and I did quite an extreme fix by drilling holes in the centre of the wheels on the plastic insert and fitting in a little M2 screw just to clamp the plastic inserts down onto the wheel, and it seemed to work. This doesn't look too bad. The rear wheels, I can see that the plastic insert is starting to bulge a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be affecting the running. These wheels seem okay. They need a good clean. So I think what I might do is, take the inserts out and try and glue them and clamp them, and just see if that catches it before it gets any worse. I'm not sure how successful super gluing is going to be. But we'll see. We'll have a look. But I mean, it does run okay, so I don't want to do anything too drastic. Right, let's get a look inside though and see what sort of state this is in, because I can already see a bit of fluffage. So I'll undo that screw at the back. This of course will be split chassis. It's a Bachmann, a very early Bachmann, but we'll have the split chassis, and the axles, if it's the same as the other Class 4 I worked on, the axles are the round pin type, not the square pin. So I am hoping that they're not split. Chances are they are, but I'm hoping they're not, because I really don't want to replace them. The square pin ones are easy replaced, but the round ones, just an absolute pain in the neck to do. So let's hope they're okay. Right, does this lift out now? And there's nothing attached to the body. Up, out it comes. So that all looks okay so far. Needs a bit of lubrication. Let's get this underframe off and see what's what with the axles, because this is where the work will be. It came off nice and easy. Sometimes that can be really stiff. Right, just get those screws out of the way. Right, what we got? Lots of fluff. What looks like carpet fibres and goodness knows what else. Come on, out you come. Lift the wheel out. Yeah, that one is slightly split. Lots of carpet fibres. There is a split, but it's not drastic. And the wheels aren't moving. So I think if we clean that up and maybe just get some super glue into those cracks, I think that might be okay. What's this one like? Again, lots of horrible fibres. No, I think that's okay. Now, what about this? Is the drive axle cracked at all? It doesn't appear to be. So it's all very dry and dirty. A little bit of plastic there, don't know what that is. But apart from being a bit fluffy and dirty and needing a bit of lubrication, it's surprisingly okay. I'll get the monkey brush in. Now I'm starting to clean up the axle, you can see the split. But unless the wheels were moving independently of each other, I'd be loath to pull that out and replace it. If they were the square peg ones, yeah, but these ones are just a pain in the neck. And now that I'm cleaning this one up, I can see that it's split as well. But again, not seriously so. Because you could replace these and they'll just split again. So I'm not too worried about them being a little bit split. It's if they're all, if the wheels are turning independently from each other, which knocks the quartering out as it's running along, that's when you really worry about it. Gunk out from between the teeth of this gear. The drive axle seems okay. We'll give it all a good scoosh with a contact cleaner. The axles on the front bogie are fine, they're not split. Look at the tender wheels, no problem with those, they're all fine. So yeah, okay, this seems to be okay. I think we'll, once this contact cleaner's dried up, we'll get some super glue in the axles, we'll get some fresh lubrication in, clean the wheels, and we'll be good to go. Just get some contact cleaner down in the other gears. You really don't want to take this all apart if I can help it. Give it a good blast out. Okay, so I'm just going to pop some super glue on these cracks. It doesn't mean these axles are going to last forever, but I could pull these off and fit new ones and they'd be cracked again pretty soon. And just to reiterate, if these had been the square peg ones, I would have replaced the axles, but these round ones, nah, leave well alone unless they are really bad and the wheels are moving. Right, so we'll let that glue cure and then we'll get this lubricated up. Okay, we'll get some silicone grease down into the gears. Just mop this up because I don't want the silicone grease on the chassis where the axle sits. I forgot I was going to try and fix the bulge on the plastic insert, wasn't I? Let's just undo this pin. So we take that right out. There it goes. Right, okay. So I think we'll mix up some epoxy resin rather than using super glue. Mix this up. This is a 5-minute epoxy, so it should set pretty quickly. But I really only need a wee spot of it. That'll do it. I'll need to clamp these together somehow. Okay, so just some little nuts stuck onto the wheels with black tack. So when I squeeze that in the vise, it's going to apply pressure just where I need it. Okay, so I left these wheel inserts in the vise for a good couple of hours to give the glue time to set, but it didn't work. They were still bulging. The plastic hadn't stuck to the wheel at all. So I pulled the inserts out and I noticed that the epoxy had kind of left a very thin layer on the metal surface of the wheel. So I put some super glue on, squeezed them down, and that seems to have held. I think super glue on its own would have been a bit iffy, but clearly epoxy on its own wasn't going to do the job either. But I think that layer of epoxy, so essentially the super glue is gluing the plastic of the wheel insert to the layer of epoxy, not the metal of the wheel. And that seems to have worked by accident. Right, we shall pop this back and then we'll get the wheels cleaned. It's not the first time I've experienced that phenomenon where you try and glue something and it doesn't work, and then you try a different type of glue without removing the old glue and it works. And it's the second glue you use is sticking to the old glue and not the surface of the thing you're trying to glue together. Right, okay. So we'll get this underframe back on and then we'll get the wheels cleaned up. And as ever, don't over tighten these screws where they stop turning. That's it. We'll get some grease on this worm gear. Just give this a turn with the battery, remembering not to touch the two halves of the chassis. You'll give yourself a wee shock. Right, we'll get a wee bit of lubrication into all the linkages, and then we'll clean the wheels. So these wheels, they're not dirty, but there's quite a bit of wear on them. You can see what looks like copper coming through. Not seen that quite so distinct before. But we'll give them a clean, but I think, yeah, I don't think I'm going to take the rotary tool to them. I think we'll just clean them with some contact cleaner. Right, just pop this on the test track. Seems fine. Right, just give this body a bit of a dust over with a dusty brush. Plonk that in there. There we go. Righto, let's go and pull it out the shed and see how it goes. Okay then, let's bring it out. So there we are, that's this old Bachmann Class 4 serviced. Nice looking model, and these old Bachmanns do run quite nicely. You know, they can be quite a good buy. They can make a little bit of noise, but you know, you've got metal grinding against metal with the axles and the chassis. And you're always going to have issues with the axle insert, so be warned if, you know, if you're thinking of picking one of these up, and also watch out for the plastic wheel inserts. This one was in pretty good nick and really just needed a bit of a clean up. The axles weren't bad enough to warrant replacing, and the wheel inserts were nothing like as bad as the previous Class 4 I worked on. Super glue saved the day once more, really. So yeah, I'm going to put this up on eBay along with the Flying Scotsman and the Class 43 as separate listings. I'll do a video shortly about that with links to the listings, and as before, at least 80% of the proceeds will go to the SSPCA, that's the Scottish Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. The remaining 20% covers my eBay selling fees and postage and stuff. Thanks once more to Eddie for sending this and all the other items. I've one more locomotive he sent me to look at, and I'll be keeping that one. Meantime, folks, catch yous later.